Good morning and welcome to First Parish Church of Stowe and Acton, FPC, to our members and friends, a welcoming spiritual community. My name is Karen Kinnear, and I'm one of our OWL facilitators. As we begin, we would like to acknowledge that this service is being held by a community that gathers on the stolen traditional lands of the Massachusetts, Nipmuc, Pawtucket, and Wampanoag people. We pay respect to elders who lost their lives in the colonization of this land. Recognize that these indigenous tribes are still today facing violations of sovereignty, territory, and water. We also give thanks for the earth we walk upon, the waters, the life-giving plants, and all the earth's creatures, as well as the wind, sun, moon, and stars. We recognize this is just a first step in moving towards right relationship with Native peoples and healing of the earth. If this is your first time with us, we welcome you. Our minister is the Reverend Cindy Landrum. Our music director is Brad Dumont. Our welcoming and membership coordinator is Jolene Trotta. And our religious education director is Michelle Coté. Our other staff members are listed in the order of service. During the service, feel free to message Jolene Trotta with any questions about our programs or email any of the staff after the service. Their emails are on our webpage. We also invite you to check out our webpage for news and information. You can sign up there for our newsletter and email alerts. Upcoming events are listed in our order of service, which is available on our website under the Sunday service information. This week, we are in person at 9 a.m. and both in person and online at 11. No more need to reserve an in-person space. Note that this is not our new sound system. Don't worry, we are doing something temporary. So if it doesn't sound the best, there's still hope. Please watch the webpage and our FPC Announce for time and locations of services next week. You can subscribe to FPC Announce on our webpage. After the service, it's our custom to have coffee hour. Starting today, you're welcome to congregate for a while after the service without coffee. Online folks have breakout groups that will last 15 minutes. Please join our conversation for conversation and to learn more about FPC. Here are our major announcements. Saturday, February 26th at 9 a.m., Growing Victory Garden with Rick Lent on Zoom. Sunday, February 27th at 7 p.m., Bridging and Breaking, Arts, Incarceration, and Empowering Song with Brad Dumont via Zoom. More details in the order of service. And please consider joining the auction committee to help make our June garden party a success. This is an annual treat which helps bring lots of fun and funds for our church. And now let us come together in the spirit of worship.
Let's take a moment now and greet your neighbor.
Good morning.
Morning. From Northeast Arkansas, everybody.
Morning, everyone.
Hello, all.
Morning, Kim.
Good morning, all.
Good morning. Good to see you all. Hard to see you all.
Morning, Karen. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning, Karen.
Morning, everyone. Morning, everybody in the church.
Our words for calling us to worship this morning are by Susan Maginn. From beyond the playful summer clouds, beyond the earth's thin blue line, from beyond the bright moon and meteor showers, we hear the call to look and listen carefully, to turn away from a world that buys and sells happiness, to fully experience the luring whisper of your heart's truth. Why not today? Why not now? We are here and together, at home in this evolving place, home in this ever-changing breath and body, home in this dewy morning, even as it reaches towards a high, hot noon. We hear the call from far beyond and deep within, and we do not hear it alone. Come, let us worship together. And our chalice lighting words are by Erik Wikstrom, and I'm going to invite Jolene to light our chalice this morning. Each of the stars in the heavens is unique and individual, yet together they form the night sky. Each of us here is unique and individual, yet together we are a congregation. For stars in the sky, for people in the pews and online, in gratitude we light this chalice. Our opening hymn is number 368, Now Let Us Sing. The choir is going to be coming up here to the pulpit because today this is the only microphone we have going while our sound system is under complete upheaval. But you can see the signs of progress in this sanctuary. We're so excited that it's coming in and so excited to have the choir members with us to sing this morning.
Feel free to hum along, clap along, tap along, anything is fine. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing, sing to the power of the sing, sing. Now let us sing, sing to the power of the sing, sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing, sing to the power of the joy within. Now let us sing, sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within.
Please join now and rise in body and spirit and join in our covenant and affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
From all that dwell below the stars, let words of love and peace arise. Let joyful songs of praise be sung through every land, by every tongue.
Good morning. Is this working? Can you hear me? Good. All right. One of the things that I absolutely love best when working with especially young kids is the sense of wonder that they get from looking at an ant, from looking at a raindrop, or they'll ask you, and I'm sure those of you who have either had kids or spent any times with kids, especially around the 4 or 5-year-old, why? Why is this? Why? And it drives you crazy, but when you think about it, they're just thinking all the time. And I love that about kids. And I found this beautiful book. I will leave this in the fellowship hall so you can look at the illustrations, because the illustrations are just gorgeous, called I Wonder. Eva loves to look for the moon. It follows her from place to place, disappearing behind trees and mountains, and then appearing again somewhere new. Look, Mama, there it is. The moon looks so beautiful in the sky. How do you think it follows us, Eva? Eva thinks about it. but she just can't figure it out. It's okay to say I don't know, says her mother. When we don't know something, we get to wonder about it. I wonder if the moon and the earth are friends, says Eva. Her mother smiles. I like that idea. But Mama, how does the moon really stay close to us? Well, there's an invisible force called gravity that pulls all the things in the universe together, Eva's mother explains. Gravity keeps the moon close to the earth, and it keeps the planets close to the sun too. They circle around. Eve understands a little better, but then she starts to wonder, Mama, where does gravity come from? I don't know, Eva. Nobody really knows for sure. And when no one knows the answer to something, it's called a mystery. A mystery is something for everyone to wonder about together. How fun, Eva thinks. She imagines herself wondering about gravity together with all of the people in the world. Eva watches the moon disappear behind the clouds, excited to see where it will appear next. How many grains of sand are in the whole world, Mama? I wonder about that too, Eva. There are trillions and trillions of grains of sand, but nobody knows exactly how many. Eva tries to think about all the sand in the whole world. It feels so big that I can't fit it all in my imagination. It makes me feel dizzy, like I'm falling. I know what you mean, her mother agrees. I'm sure other people feel that way too. Eva walks down another path, looking for the moon, and a little orange butterfly suddenly appears. Then she notices there are butterflies everywhere. Mama, where did all these butterflies come from? These butterflies have been flying around for a few days, but they started out as little caterpillars and before that, eggs. There are cycles all around us, with one thing ending and another beginning. Things are always changing. Can you think of some things that change? Clouds and frogs and me. Later, Eva wonders, Mama, what was here before all the butterflies and frogs and clouds, before everything? I don't know, answers her mother. It's another mystery. I like trying to imagine what was here before the beginning of everything. What do you think was here? And Eva says, smiling, I don't know. She thinks about it for a long time, and then she has an idea. I wonder if there were feelings. As she walks home, Eva sees the moon again, glowing brightly above the roof of her house. Let's go inside and look for the moon through the window. We live with some big mysteries. When we come upon one, we're given a little gift. Every mystery is something for all of us to wonder about together. What do you wonder about? And like I said, I love how much wondering kids do. And I would encourage, and this wondering is what leads people to make discoveries. And Cindy's going to reference some of that in her sermon, especially speaking of Galileo. But you can't not solve something if you never wonder if it's there or if something could happen. And so this week, I want you to not, you could wonder about scientific theories if that's something that you like, but I also want you to just take a moment and think back to the things you used to find amazing when you were a little kid. Like for me, it was like how rainbows shone in puddles. I don't know, for whatever reason, that always made me like think that it was magic or miraculous or something. So find at least one time this week to think back to those wonderings you had as a kid, revisit them, and just see if you get that same sense of wonder. And that is my message. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, Michelle. This is our time in our service for joys and sorrows. I am joyful for the new technology going in, and that hopefully a lot of our tech hurdles that we've been having, especially in the last few weeks, will be alleviated. A couple notes just to let you know what's happening. So in the before times, we had a stereo system in a cabinet over here. It fed sound out from our microphones through these speakers. That is all completely disassembled right now. And so thanks to Michael Merrill for setting up these speakers, which is where you're getting all your sound today, hooked up to this one microphone. Now on Zoom, what we've been doing for the last few months is we have one camera guy, hi Ben, up there in our balcony, and he's been filming us. And then we hook up the sound through having the microphone sitting up there. You can see the microphone is standing up pointed at the speaker. That's not working today, so we have microphones up here so that people off-site can hear through this computer microphone is what's working, not this one. So that's what's going on here. But you can see the signs that we're going to have new screens up here that we're going to be projecting on in the future. We've got this one new mounted camera on the back wall. It's going to be capturing things from a station that will be over here. Ben will and our other tech assistants will be manipulating that camera remotely from a station here, about where Hector is, and projecting on both these screens for you using those brand new projectors. It's all very exciting to see. So that is my joy this morning. While we're dealing with this, as I said, we only have this one microphone area here to capture things for people off-site. So that means as you share your joys and sorrows in the hall, you have a choice. You can stand up, project really loudly. I'll kind of repeat things into the microphones here for people off-site so that they can hear what you've been talking about. Or you can come up to the pulpit microphone if you feel comfortable and confident to do that. That is an option. So we're going to take joys and sorrows from in the hall, and then I'm going to turn to the folks off-site, beginning with Ingrid, our lay minister, but I don't believe we've received any emails to joys and sorrows this week. So then we'll just kind of open it up for folks off-site who have the luxury of having each their own microphone at their own computer. So joys and sorrows to be shared today. I'll share with you too that there was a joy at our first service this morning that our one of the events we had to cancel or actually postpone in the beginning of the pandemic was that we had planned for a beer truck and food truck festival to happen here at FPC. And that was going to be in the spring of 2020, I think, or the fall of 2020. And we had to cancel it completely or postpone it indefinitely. We now have a date for it. It's going to be in September. Woohoo! So a lot of actually the crew that put that proposal together was here at the first service this morning. Our words for prayer or meditation today come from Lipo, titled Zazen on Ching-t'ing Mountain. The birds have vanished down the sky. Now the last cloud drains away. We sit together, the mountains and me, until only the mountain remains. Blessed be. Amen. Our first reading is one of my many favorite poems titled Scientists Find Universe Awash in Tiny Diamonds by Pat Main Ellis. But haven't we always known? The shimmer of trees, the shaking of flames, every cloud lined with something. Clean water sings right to the belly, scouring us with its purity. It, too, is awash in diamonds, quote, so small that trillions could rest on the head of a pin, end quote. It is it is not unwise then to say that the air is hung close with diamonds, that we breathe diamond, our lungs hoarding, exchanging, our blood sowing them rich and thick along every course it takes. Does this explain why some of us are so hard? Why some of us shine? Why we are all precious? We are awash in creation, spumed with diamonds, shot through with beauty that survived the death of stars. Thus ends the reading. Our next hymn is number 1068. This is a less familiar one. Again, you can rise in body or in spirit, or you may remain seated. Thanks to our choir for singing for us. Are you not hearing me? My next reading is a change from what's printed in your order of service. This is from Annie Dillard, the spiritual writer's book, Teaching a Stone to Talk. At a certain point, you say to the woods, to the sea, to the mountain, the world, now I am ready. Now I will stop and be wholly attentive. You empty yourself and wait, listening. After a time, you hear it. There is nothing there. There is nothing but those beings only, those created objects, discrete, growing or holding. swaying, being rained or raining, held, flooding or ebbing, standing or spread. You feel the world's word as a tension, a hum, a single chorus to note everywhere the same. This is it. The hum is the silence. The silence is all there is. It is the Alpha and the Omega. It is God's brooding over the face of the waters. It is the blended note of the 10,000 things, the wine of wings. You take a step in the right direction to pray to this silence, even to address the prayer to world. Distinctions blur. Quit your tense. Pray without ceasing. Thus ends the reading. This month we share our plate with the good work of the Concord Prison Outreach, bringing programs into the incarcerated population of Concord. And for their good work and the work of this church, we will gratefully receive the morning offering. Just a sec. I was sitting in my home office yesterday, having just finished reading through and reviewing my sermon and feeling all prepared for today, when my father called. Now, this is unusual because my father said, I wanted to call to talk to you about a sermon tomorrow. Unusual not in that my father would call, but that he would call before the sermon instead of after it, which is what's much more common. And he wanted to know, he said, I have something that I want to talk to you about that I'm hoping you're talking about in your sermon tomorrow, but you're probably not talking about, but I thought you might want to talk about, so I'm calling it. And what he wanted to talk about was his experience of the Webb telescope. My father said that rather than finding comfort and finding God in the securely known, the established facts, be it scripture or even the trees and the mountains, he finds that sense of inner peace and comfort in the awe and the wonder and that expanding universe, the unfolding universe that we don't know about yet, but that we will know more and more about as time goes on. The vastness of space and how our knowledge keeps expanding of it. He's been particularly captivated recently with the Webb telescope, which just opened its eyes 2 days ago and sent us its first images of a star twinkling in its 18 lenses as they focused them together to get that single image of a star. While I wasn't planning on talking specifically about the Webb telescope, I understood his fascination because it was the same way I felt about the Hubble telescope's images when they first came back. The images Hubble gave us of the galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies out beyond our Milky Way transformed my theology in profound ways. Understanding visually that the universe was still unfolding, still expanding, and that the enormous vastness of that made me believe that to limit our theology and our understanding of the nature of God to one book written on one planet 2,000 years ago was not just too limited a theology, it was too earthbound a theology. It couldn't possibly, if we took it literally as the end of all truth, be big enough for this universe we were understanding, where we were seeing images of new stars being born and old stars dying. People who argue against evolution or for the creationism or for the inclusion of creationism in schools are fond of saying that evolution is just a theory, only a theory, hasn't been proven. Therefore, they say other theories like creationism should be equally taught. Now, this argument, as you probably know, has some major flaws in it, yes? Yeah, I see Hector nodding. Yes. It misunderstands theory on a scientific level. A theory in science, as I understand it, and I'm not a scientist, is something that's already withstood vigorous testing and hasn't been proven false. So it's withstood vigorous testing, it's stood up to that testing, but in everyday meaning, theory means something you just don't know if it's true or not, so you have a theory. I have a theory, it must be bunnies, they said in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Bunnies, the root of all evil. And it's not something that's been tested, it's not something that you're conjecturing about, you're just conjecturing about it. You don't know if it's true or not in everyday parlance. So in science, that would be more like a hypothesis. You first have your hypothesis, you test it more, you test it more, you test it more, you do all this research in science, and then your theory gets developed from all those results. I start with this because it helps to illustrate a fundamental difference between science and conservative religion. In science, you do have facts, established truths, but you're always developing and changing and growing and learning. In conservative religion, you're given a set of supposed facts, and that's that. No testing, no disproving, no growing and changing. End of story. Revelation is sealed. God has told us everything that he ever will. And that's why a debate between a creationist and an evolutionary biologist never goes anywhere and is just an exercise in frustration. For example, you may remember several years ago, there was a debate between Bill Nye, the science guy, and Creation Museum founder Ken Ham. It's a widely publicized debate. And every time a question was asked of the two of them, how did the universe begin, for example, Bill Nye would explain, well, here's what we think, and then here's what the research shows, and here's what we're still investigating, and here's what we don't know. And Ken Ham would say, well, here's what the Bible says. That's that. End of story. The best and most illuminating question for me in the debate was when they were asked, what, if anything, would ever change your mind? Bill Nye said, we would need just one piece of evidence. We would need that fossil that swam from one layer to another. We would need evidence that the universe is not expanding. We would need evidence that the stars appear to be very far away, but they're not. We would need evidence that rock layers can somehow form in just 4,000 years instead of the extraordinary number. We would need evidence that somehow you can reset the atomic clock and keep neutrons from becoming protons. Bring out any of these things, and you would change me immediately. Ham said, well, the answer to that question is, I'm a Christian. And as a Christian, I can't prove it to you, but God has definitely shown me very clearly through his word and shown himself in the person of Jesus Christ. The Bible is the word of God. I admit that's where I start from. I can challenge people that if you go and test that, you can make predictions based on that. You can check the prophecies in the Bible. You can check the statements in Genesis. You can check that, and I did a little bit of that tonight, but I can't ultimately prove it to you. All I can do is say to someone, look at what, if the Bible really is what it claims to be, if it really is the word of God, and that's what it claims, then check it out. In other words, he did not answer the question because the answer is nothing would change his mind. In essence, not even God would change his mind because revelation is sealed. God has already told us. His universe of knowledge is not expanding. It is finite and fixed and recorded. There is no new information forthcoming. On the other hand, for the scientists, revelation is continually unfolding. It can change at any moment. The moment God gives us evidence of God that's scientific proof, scientists will incorporate God into the theory of science. It's that simple. Any piece of evidence changes science and changes what we know and what we believe. Why I bring this up is because this is a fundamental difference, not just between science and conservative religion, but between liberal religion and conservative religion. In essence, the difference is parallel, and liberal religion is much more like science in its approach. Our questions are different in religion. They're theological, they're ethical, they're about purpose and meaning. They're not about the how and the why. That's science's job. But our openness and our searching, our exploring, our questioning, our being open to the awe and wonder of the universe, these are similar to science. So in preparation for the memorial service I did yesterday for Chris Flisher, I read a lot of his writings and even his horoscope articles from random weeks, and I listened to some of his podcasts. I also watched one wild and memorable episode of Trading Spouses that he appeared on. Did any of you see that back in the day? Yeah, one. So Chris Flisher was on Trading Spouses, and he's an astrologist, and he does mandala art, and he's very open to various religious practices from around the globe. And they traded his then wife with a woman from Louisiana who was a conservative fundamentalist Christian. She came to stay with the Flisher family. And at one point, early on in her visit, she walked in and she saw everything. And then she said, point blank, my mind is closed to this. I mean, that's not her exact words, because it was something like, my mind is closed completely to all of this, or something exactly like that. I didn't go get the exact quote, but the point is, she said, point blank, my mind is closed to this. She was not willing to think about the possibilities of things outside her experience and her comfort zone. And for her, there was a sense of pride in saying, my mind is closed. I turned to my kid, who I was showing this episode to, and said, I am not sure that I have ever heard anybody say that with pride before. And indeed, as someone who grew up Unitarian Universalist, having a closed mind in all my circles was an insult. It never occurred to me until that moment yesterday, or the day before yesterday, that anybody would ever proudly claim that. Maybe some of you have had more experience with conservative fundamentalism than I have. But it was such a startling moment for me. In Unitarian Universalism, we have our 7 principles, which I quote often, but we also have the 6 sources. They're in the front pages of your hymnal following the principles. So if you flip in your hymnal past the contents and past the preface, and it says sitting, you'll see this page. And it lists off our principles, and then it says, the living tradition we share draws from many sources. And one of those sources that it says down below is that humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science. We put in our principles, in our sources document, that we draw religiously, we draw from the source of science as much as from the scriptures, which are also listed there. And then it says on the first one, the very first one, it says, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces that create and uphold life. We list this source along with the scriptures of the world religions, Jewish and Christian teachings, and more. And for us, it is equally valid, your personal experience, the experiences that we have unfolding in the universe, science. These are equally valid to books that were written thousands of years ago. It may seem like a simple thing, but it's actually a profound difference between Unitarian Universalism and conservative religion, particularly evangelical Christianity. We trust our own experience. We trust what we see with our senses, and not just the recorded experiences of a chosen few. But more than that, this statement about the transforming awe and wonder, and it being a religious source from which we draw, it speaks directly to the openness to receiving more inspiration, more knowledge at any time. And that second part of the statement that says, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces that create and uphold life. That word openness there, I think, is essential. We are the opposite of closed to all that. We are open to the forces that create and uphold life. It is a life-affirming and life-enhancing thing that we draw from this source, from our own experiences, from awe and wonder. That's from questioning and curiosity and that moment of like profound, I don't know, but I understand that there's so much out there. The fact that the universe is still unfolding for the scientist and for the theist, that God is still speaking, as the UCC Church says, this is something that for us is wonderful and awesome, upholds us and embraces us and gives life meaning. We rejoice in the questions, in the not knowingness of it all. It's one of the most profound and marvelous things in our faith, our belief in and embrace of the state of ambiguity and uncertainness. And that was one of the things I was struck by my father's statement, was he said he found comfort in that ambiguity, in that not knowing, in that unfolding majesty and wonder and mystery of the universe. Comfort in that. And the idea that revelation is not sealed, that new truth unfolds, new experience comes, that the scientists will always be discovering more. I trace this openness of our first source and our embrace of our direct experience of God and wonder as a source of religious authority back to Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson wrote in his essay, Nature, "We return to reason and faith. We return to reason and faith. There I feel nothing can befall me in life, no disgrace, no calamity, leaving me my eyes, which nature cannot repair. Standing on the bare ground, my head bathed by the blithe air, and uplifted into infinite spaces, all mean egotism vanishes. I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all. The currents of the universal being circulate through me. I am part or particle of God." That's Emersonian language for that experience of awe and wonder, for direct revelation and the way the universe is still unfolding before us. And I think it's significant that he begins, we return to reason and faith. Those two things are not separate. They're not contradictory. Reason and faith are partners for him. Now, I don't want to claim that we're the only religion that has this open-minded perspective, that partners reason and faith and has faith in reason. We're not. The Baha'i faith, for example, has a unique perspective. They say, their founders said, if religion were contradictory to logical reason, then it would cease to be a religion and merely a tradition. Religion and science are two wings upon which man's intelligence can soar into the heights, and with which the human soul can progress. It is not possible to fly with one wing alone. And similarly, the United Church of Christ has the slogan, God is still speaking. For them, that's a way of saying revelation is not sealed. We are still learning more, and everything we learn more is learning about God more. It's the way the universe is speaking to us is how God is speaking to us. This direct experience of awe and wonder is something that can exist within atheists and Christians and pagans and Buddhists of the world, and all those faiths among us in Unitarian Universalism, as well as out there, can all share this openness and awe and wonder. For theists, awe and wonder connects to an experience of God still acting, God still taking direct action in our lives or in the world. For non-theists, awe and wonder are at the mystery of the universe still unfolding. As Max Ehrmann states in his poem Desiderata, he says, "You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt, the universe is unfolding as it should." Amen to that. Here's a little story from Inner Self, which is a blog by John Izzo. And I think it connects to having both an open mind and a very scientific and religious viewpoint at the same time. He writes this: "One day when my daughter Sydney was very young, she interrupted me as I worked on a client report in my home office. She came to tell me, there is a beautiful and amazing bug just outside on the driveway. She is red and black and spotted. You must come see this bug." Busy writing my report, I told her that the bug would have to wait. "Perhaps it'll be there when I'm done," I added. Sydney frowned, but was undaunted. "No, Daddy," she said, "bugs do not wait for us." Right? Awakened by her native wisdom, I joined her, and we went down the long driveway to view the brightly colored caterpillar. Sure enough, the bug was amazing. Black, red, and spotted all over. For a few moments, she and I shared in the absolute delight that God, evolution, or something greater than us had created such a lovely creature. Years later, I cannot recall a word from the report, nor even what report I was working on. But if I close my eyes, I can still see that beautiful bug. Izzo's words bring to me the words of William Blake from Auguries of Innocence. "To see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour." This is the awe and wonder we're talking about. When we suddenly see heaven in a flower, or in a bug, or in a grain of sand, or in the beautiful, amazing images brought back to us from telescopes far out in space. As you use, we affirm that each and every one of us can have that sort of experience for ourselves, whether in that smallest bug or in the unfolding images that'll be coming back from the Webb telescope. Moreover, we hold that this experience has authority. And that's the most important part in this, that we embrace the unknown, the future yet to be revealed, the science yet to be discovered, the illumination and revelation still to be received. And in that unknowing, in the ambiguity, there is faith, there is comfort, there is religious experience. A faith that the universe is still unfolding as it should, that we are awash in tiny diamonds, that we are small specks of stardust in the infinite, but we are a piece of that unfolding majesty. How wonderful a part of our faith this is, that for us the universe is still unfolding, that God is still speaking, that new scientific revelations await, that new prophets may yet arrive. We have a world of possibility, a future to rejoice in. May our minds never be closed to all that, and may our books never be sealed. May it be so. Our closing hymn is number 1064. This is Blue Boat Home. Blue Boat Home was actually a song that was embraced by the Unitarian Young Adult Movement for a while as its token song for their movement. And please rise in body, heart, and spirit.
I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my moon. Oh, oh. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep. Drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, fading away by the lights of the heavens, in our beautiful blue. Oh, oh. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. Breathe the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, but never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my moon. Oh, oh.
Our words for benediction are by the Native American poet Uvavnuk, titled Untitled Shaman Song. The great sea frees me, moves me, as a strong river carries a weed. Earth and her strong winds move me, take me away, and my soul is swept up in joy. May it be so for all of us. Go in peace.
Peace be with you till we meet again. As life lays its task before you, floating morning, peace be with you till we meet again.